Assalamu alaikum. Good evening to all of you. I'm MF Ezaman, is your host today. I'm inviting you to watch our show, Let's Talk to Make a Change, from Facebook and YouTube from all over the world. The main thing is we always want to change, but we don't know how to do it. So today we will talk how to make a positive change in our community and in the country. Today, I'm really honored to invite a special guest who is serving New New Scotland Yard from number of years. He is a vice chair of Met Police, and his name is Abdul Haq. So I'd like to invite our guest. Assalamu alaikum, brother. How are you?
Walaikum assalam. Thank you very much for having me on your show today.
Everything is okay?
Alhamdulillah. Yes, very good. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Alhamdulillah. First of all, I'm really honored to invite you, and I know you are very busy, so that's why thank you very much for your precious time. Um, so we want to know more about you actually before to go our discussion. So we are really waiting to hear from you. So please introduce yourself.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for having me on your show. It's a real honor and a privilege to be here today. For me, my name is Abdul Haq. I'm actually of Bangladeshi ethnic origin, and I've been a police officer for 27 years now. So this is my 27th year of being a police officer. I've been in many roles in policing. So I've been an officer on a response team, the people that come out to deal with things when you ring 999. I used to be an area car driver, so the rapid response car. Um, I've been on safer neighborhood teams, which is the people that look after your issues that happen locally, deal with local complaints, deal with the community locally, and look at obviously problem solving with the local authority. I've been on some very big sort of murder investigation cases on CID, and I've worked on cases all across the UK actually, in all sorts of different elements and aspects. For me, as I said, I've been in New Scotland Yard for a few years now. So my role there is around, it's in a department called Crime Prevention, Inclusion, Engagement, and we deal with some aspects of the recruitment process into the Met Police. So what I do at Scotland Yard is we sort of look at the strategy. So I work in London. So London is a very big global city with almost 9 million people, or perhaps maybe more than 9 million people who live there. It's a city that there are over 300 languages that are spoken in. And I think the other issue is there are, in terms of population and percentages, there's a very diverse community who live in London. So about 40% of the community are from, BAME backgrounds, a black ethnic minority background. So we have a very diverse community who live in London. And part of my role is around how do we engage with these communities? What do we do? Is the policing strategy, is that effective? So are we reaching out to all the different types of communities in terms of help and support that they need? Or equally, are we considering the needs of that community to make sure that when the police turn up, we can provide you with an effective quality service? So the police don't always get it right, but for me, it's important. Obviously, we have dialogue, we have conversation, and we learn what the needs are of the community to be able to tailor that. So my job is to look all across London, look at what the issues are in certain, we call it BCU areas, in certain regions across London, and make sure that the policing is effective to sort of contact and connect with each and every one of you from all the diverse communities.
So thank you very much. Now we have realized you have a lot of experience. So you know that our program's name is Let's Talk to Make a Change. What happened most of the time, we do lots of talk and discuss about how to make a change, but very few times we have seen we are in action to make a change. So from your perspective, how we can make a change on the ground? Because we can discuss, we can give the idea to the people, but they have to do it. They have to implement in their daily life. So what is your advice how we can implement this thing in our daily life to make this change, please?
So I think first and foremost is obviously as a community. So I'm not sure who the audience type is for the call, but I think from a community perspective, sometimes minority groups shy away from the police, from authority, because they see it as, you know, you don't want to get involved with the police or local authority in case you get into trouble. So, you know, my first and foremost thing is obviously, you know, I'm a parent myself, and I think most parents will say to their children, don't join the police, you know, maybe be a doctor, be an accountant, you know, be something like that, which, you know, is going to make them more money. But I think the important thing is, you know, when everything goes wrong or there's a real emergency, then you need to call the police. And I think when you call the emergency services, the biggest issue the police have is when they come to visit, say you, if you've called the police or somebody else, how do we effectively engage with you? You know, how can we help you and understand what is going on? There's lots of cultural issues as well that we have to consider as an organization. So if I give you an example, so the Met Police, okay, is an organization which has about 50,000 people that work for it. The rough ratio is about 20,000 people are civilian staff and about 30,000 people are police officers. So they have various different skills. But I don't know if you remember me telling you earlier that 40% thereabouts of the community are from Black, Asian, ethnic minority groups. So they're from all different groups that perhaps English isn't their first language. Okay. So, but there's a big but. Okay, the percentage of police officers that are from minority groups in the Metropolitan Police Service is only 15%. So, if you think about it, if you've got a 40% community and you've only got 15% representation, we could do better there. So, you know, in terms of how we communicate with our communities is much better than the rest of the country, because nationally, I think the statistic is about 6% of police officers are from different backgrounds. But for me, how do we engage? So we as a community need to get involved. We need to take these jobs of being police officers. We need to take those jobs of getting in the councils. We need to take those jobs that people sometimes think are probably a little bit harder. But I think the thing is, unless we're going to get people from our ethnicity and background and understanding to join these jobs, you know, then you can give those sort of experiences. So when you turn up to somebody's house and you can actually speak their language, or you can understand what their culture is, it's a lot easier, especially for the person who's receiving that service. So if you're somebody from that background and you see someone from your own background, you know, sometimes you're like, oh, this is a bit easier for me. Sometimes other cultures, you know, we offer an extensive training package, but you can only train people so much, because if it's your community, your culture, you understand that better than anyone who's been given training. So we want to change that, you know. We want to encourage people to.
Sorry to interrupt. Just I want to add one thing. There is a barrier. So what is the barrier we had seen, and how we can overcome it?
I think the barrier is twofold, really. So some of it is around, you know, how is the police as an organization perceived by our community, you know? So I think, obviously, when you look at traditionally in India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, the police is seen as a corrupt sort of organization. So, you know, most of our sort of families would think, actually, that's not good. But if you look at it on the opposite scale, the UK police service are internationally renowned. You know, the London, you know, the UK police service all around the world are sending their people to be trained here. So what I say is, rather than look at the negative stereotypes of our countries, let's look at the positive, you know, effect that this police service, the UK police service, has across the world. You know, so that those are some of the stigmas and stereotypes. And equally, some people know, look, the police get a hard time. You see on the news, don't you? The police officers being assaulted and injured. And if you're from a minority group, some people's view is, well,
sometimes they're a bit scared about that. Or if I will send my son or my daughter, might be he or she will lose the life. You know, this thing works in their mind, maybe.
Well, I was going to say, ironically, I don't know if you saw last weekend on social media. So we had a hijabi wearing
yes, the sister,
sister who was actually in the right police. So
yeah,
I was actually dealing with that protest from our special operations room, and she was on the front line, and you know, with her stick and her hijab, and everyone was like, "Oh my God," you know, she's quite small, but she's seen like a hero and a real positive role model to lots of people, out there. And I think the thing is, if she can do it and she has the support of her colleagues, support of the organization, I would say see that as a positive, and we can even look at those things. The other thing as a parent, so if someone's thinking, why should my son or daughter join this job? What I can offer is, again, in London, is if the parent wants to come along, to have a ride along, to see what a police officer's day-to-day activities are. I mean, some people think that policing is just about dealing with, we have so many different roles and responsibilities within the organization. So again, I can offer somebody to come along, have a look at what a response police officer does, have a look at what a safer neighborhood officer does, have a look at what a specialist role officer does. So I can offer those sort of provisions for parents to come and look at what an officer would do. So rather than think, actually, this is going to be really tough, I can offer those sort of things where they can come along and see what we do and what it would involve.
Thank you very much. So one thing I think we could do, we could visit all this the community. Obviously, you are the vice chair of the Muslim Police Office, so we can visit the Muslim communities, the mosques, and all these things, and especially engage with our young boys and girls to invite them and to show what is the benefit actually. Then this thing might be going to be, because open their eyes. Because I have discussed with few young boys, I had realized they even born and brought up here, but they had no idea what you said exactly. They want to be a doctor or the engineer, but there is other things which is they could do. They could be someone like you, or might be in do something better. So what I want to we want to discuss now. We have number of issues in our community, like the knife crimes, drugs, then the domestic violence. And recently, you had seen the knife crime has increased. If you go back to last few years, last 2 years is really increasing. Most of the young boys, they're involved with that. So, what is your advice for them? If you would like to share with us, please.
Yeah, so if we could take it one step back, actually. So I think, yeah, the important thing to say is obviously, again, the Metropolitan Police Service, we have 20 staff support associations. If I can explain what a staff support association is, because we've got a real diverse workforce, okay, we realise actually a lot of the people who are from different backgrounds and ethnicities in the police service might not feel they've got the right support. So we have this extra layer. So we have like a committee of people from different groups. So like you said, so you touched upon the Association of Muslim Police. So the Association of Muslim Police, okay, is an association within the Metropolitan Police that offers support to any Muslim colleague. So we'll support you in your personal development. We'll support you if there's any complaints or grievances or disciplinary stuff. We'll support you if there's any issues of fairness at the workplace. And equally, what we do is we look at, okay, so how is the organization supporting the officer? So if you need to do your prayer, if you need to do Ramadan, how do we as an organization facilitate those things? So the Association of Muslim Police, we do exactly that. We advise the organization, okay, this is what you need to be doing to look after our Muslim staff. And equally, if one of our brothers or sisters has a problem, they know they can come to us and we'll raise it on their behalf to say, actually, you're treating my person unfairly. Can we look at a resolution? Can we look at fixing this problem? Because people need support and they need to be represented. And we are here to do that representing and support those colleagues. So that was on the last thing. But secondly, obviously, you touched upon issues in society. So a lot of our young people now are obviously born in the UK, they grow up, but our customs and cultures are still very strong. So obviously, most parents, they want their children to learn about what happens back at home, in Bangladesh, Pakistan, India, wherever they might be from. So they want them to learn about those values and understand that. They want them to learn about the religion and understand those things. But I think sometimes, again, as a parent myself, what we need to realize and understand is obviously the children go to school every day. We're here in the UK, in Western society. They learn about Western values, and so they're sometimes drawn between two lifestyles. One is sort of culture and heritage, and the other part is how we live in the UK.
We mix up actually all the everything's.
Well, that's the thing, we do mix it up. I think sometimes as parents, people like, I remember when my father, he always used to think like everything was like, so I'm from Bangladesh, so he always used to think
you can share your experience, how you faced that time.
Yeah, so again, he would sort of say to me, well, you need to be like this. This is what we do back in Bangladesh. But when we went back to Bangladesh to visit Bangladesh, Bangladesh had moved forward by so many years, and it wasn't even like when he remembered it as a child. So the country had moved forward and become more modern, but my dad was still set in his old ways and his old vision, because that's what he remembered when he came to the UK. So those are the things we've got. So again, we talk about young people being attracted to gangs. I think so why is that? So sometimes some of our communities live in, areas of poverty. Sometimes we live in smaller houses with lots of people living in them. So there's society issues around that, and sometimes young people are. Everything is on TV. Everything is online. We live in an instant society, in an instant world. So people want things: nice mobile phones, nice new trainers, nice tracksuits. So these are the things they're attracted to: fast money, easy money. So they become groomed by gangs. So gangs will see them as an easy target. I think, you know what? If you want some new trainers or you want a new mobile phone, just deliver this for me. And these are the sort of traps they fall into. But I think the really important thing as a parent is talk to your kids. Time and time again, some of the cases I've dealt with, when I talk to the mum and dad, everything's about, shalom, about bejot, ijot. The issue is when your child goes missing, who they're hanging around with. We ask them the questions. Parents don't always know, because some people don't think that, oh, okay, I can't talk to my son or my daughter like this. But some families do. But I think the thing is, we are responsible for our children, and if anything happened to any of our children, we would be very, very upset. And it's really hard when the police go to visit the families and they say these are supposed to be close linked families, and the mum and dad don't know who the friends are. They don't know who they hang around with. They don't know the friends' phone numbers. This becomes quite apparent. So for me, the advice is, please, I know we live here, we're Muslims and we under some strict things, but nothing preventing you having a better relationship with your child. Because for us, a lot of people, they work very hard. They work long hours. If you're in the catering business, you might be in the taxi business, you might be a doctor, you might be an accountant. So a lot of the focus is about earning money, having the best lives we can live. But sometimes that's at the detriment of us spending quality time with our children. To be
But
fair,
the thing is, what you have shared actually is really important about the family and the parents, because if you look at the parents can inspire his or her children. So that's why we have to look after. I can remember one of my while I used to do the mentoring, I met with a young boy. That time he was I think 17 or 18, and he shared his story how he involved with the gangs. And the good thing is he realized after a few years that it wasn't good for him and he was trying to come out. But I tried to find out why he involved. The main thing is he said, I didn't get time from my parents. And exactly what you said, then his friends was waiting outside to invite him. And even when he came out, he said, no one cared, about me. So that's why I would argue all our parents, please try to be your friend, not the dictator. Because sometimes in our Asian community, we think so, like we stand like as a statue. We don't want to know them. We don't want to be close to them, because if anything happened, which is I would say, they will come to first the mom or the dad.
and that's exactly it. I think the thing is, times have changed. We need to
Yeah.
be more open with our children and actually talk to them and find out. Because as you say, if we're, because again, I'm guilty of it to an extent. Sometimes we're working really hard because we're really busy, and actually, I think in our culture it's about working hard. We've got good work ethics, but I think what we need to do is, we need to find out what they're doing, because otherwise they then go and have these, you know, groups and things that they
It's
love.
gonna be too late to reverse back. But one thing is sometimes I have seen they involved with especially the knife crimes, even the family and the parents. None of them they don't know about that. They think, oh, my son, he's really good boy. And recently I had seen few murder happen in the London. Some young teenager, even their parents had no idea why this thing happened, and later they found something with the knife crimes.
And this is it really. So again, knife crime. Sadly, I mean, we live at the moment. We're obviously going through a pandemic, so COVID-19 has changed the way we're living at the moment. So when we had the lockdown earlier on, it was it was very tough for a lot of people because young people weren't used to being at home. Everybody was at home together. and obviously then the violent crime went down because everyone was forced to be indoors. Since obviously the regulations were lifted, obviously we saw an increase, but it was because people were going back out. Gangs were trying to re-establish some of their areas. But what I want to say is that obviously the police, we've provided a service throughout the whole period, and we are still obviously out there as a deterrent. We're stopping and searching people, and we're talking to people about these things. So what I'd say is, it is really hard as a parent, especially to keep an eye on your children or search them. But I mean, the best thing you can do is actually talk to your children, and actually, don't be afraid of searching them, checking them, or whatever, and asking them some more in-depth questions than perhaps you would do, because like you said, some children don't think that their parents are very happy with them or upset with them. But we all know that the parents only do these things because they love their children, not to make them feel unloved. So that is it. But I think that it's that communications we sometimes lack communications with our young people to say, look, I love you. We don't often tell our children that, I suppose, when they get bigger, especially teenagers years and that. And I think that's the difficulty. How do we overcome that?
Yeah, this is the things exactly. I spoke with few parents. I said when they grow up, why you don't be close to them when they're 20. That time you try to teach him, do this way, don't do this thing. It's going to be too late. So there's a lot of responsibility from the family and from the parents. Obviously, as a police or the other social service, you do the outdoor things, even the school teacher. But the main base of a family, the children, is the family and the parents. So that's why we have to encourage our parents to get involved with their children, try to know them, try to ask them what they like, what they don't dislike. Sometimes, because everyone once a time, even when I went back in their age, I have realized that at that time I didn't have that much knowledge to judge it or to know about them. Now I know. So if the parents could explain all these things, I think is going to be help them to come out. And also, another things we had seen in our community, the drugs. We will 20 years back, we think, oh, who is there like who doesn't have the job? Those people have take the drugs. But now I have seen even the some educated people, who is doing good jobs and all these things. And I have seen lots of divorce happened and domestic violence in our society due to the drugs. Even when you look at them, they don't look like that, but they take the drugs. So what is the reason behind that and how we can overcome it, please?
So I think, like you say, drugs there are many factors around that. So as you say, again, it just goes to show that drugs or drug usage can be taken for a variety of reasons. So I think people with really good jobs, they take it sometimes as a recreational thing. Sometimes people on the lower level take cannabis to relieve pain and things, and sometimes young people just do it because they see other people doing this sort of thing and think it's cool to be doing that. But again, let's not forget, we now live in a society where everything is instant. You've got access to mobile phones. The internet is everywhere. In the last sort of 10 years, you think about a mobile phone is like a computer nowadays, isn't it? Everything
Yeah.
is on the phone. So things that we didn't know about before, we know about now. So that's what I'm saying. So I think the thing is, people do get sometimes attracted to drugs, and I think the thing is looking out for the signs. If they are using drugs, if they're sometimes, again, I know for a fact that as a parent, you might have that gut feeling, actually, I think my son is up to something or my daughter is up to something. But some parents ignore it. Please don't ignore it. If you think they might be using drugs, yes, sometimes you think, oh, we're going to have Shodom or Ijot against the family members. What if somebody finds out? But somebody else will find out unless you deal with it in house. Have those conversations. They might be uncomfortable, but there is always support there. So if someone does have a problem, they can be referred, and they don't have to be criminalized either. So if they know they've got a problem, you can seek help through your GP, you can seek help through your local authority. There's lots of organizations that are there to support young people. And what we've been doing is a program. So in West London, there's an organization called Kick It. So again, they're Muslims, and they actually go to mosques, and what they do is they have like an open sort of surgery type thing where people who have got maybe drug or alcohol issues, they come, we get them referrals, and they talk privately about their problems, and we get them out of their addictions. It's been a successful program that's been run across. I think there's a program in Newham, and there's a program in West London at the moment as well. So again, there are lots of organisations that understand, that people like us who understand what our communities, face culturally, and some of the shame and the stigma around it. But the thing is, if we don't deal with it early on, it's only going to get worse.
So we're gonna take a short break, and then we'll come back. And thanks for watching. Please share our programs with your friends and the family, and we'll back soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
এখন মাত্র 24 থেকে 48 ঘন্টার মধ্যে পাঠিয়ে দিন বিশ্বের যে কোনো প্রান্ত থেকে বাংলাদেশের যে কোনো প্রান্তে বিভিন্ন ধরনের গিফট প্রোডাক্টস। তা এখন খুব সহজেই সম্ভব themallbd.com এর মাধ্যমে, যেখানে আপনি পাচ্ছেন ইউকে এবং ইউএস এর 7,000-এরও বেশি ইম্পোর্টেড ব্র্যান্ডস এন্ড প্রোডাক্টস। আমাদের সকল প্রোডাক্টস অলরেডি ট্যাক্স এন্ড ভ্যাট পেইড। আপনি শুধু লগ ইন করুন, পছন্দের প্রোডাক্টটি সিলেক্ট করুন, অনলাইন পেমেন্ট করুন। নির্দিষ্ট সময়ের মধ্যে আপনার কাঙ্ক্ষিত ঠিকানায় পৌঁছে যাবে আপনার পছন্দের প্রোডাক্টটি। আর দেরি না করে লগ ইন করুন themallbd.com এ আর বেছে নিন আপনার পছন্দের প্রোডাক্টটি।
Welcome back to our show. Thanks for your time to watch. Today we are talking with our guest, Abdul Haq. He's one of the senior officer of the Scotland Yard. So far we have discussed number of issues about our communities in our society and how we can break down. So we'll go ahead. Thanks for your time to discuss all these matters. So there is another issues, how we can fill the gaps between our community and the police. Sometimes I had seen people are, because there is number of issues in our society, like the domestic violence, the drugs, knife crimes, number of things. But people had some worried about that. If I'll go to the police, what will going to happen? Might be I'll be a criminal. And sometimes people bit scared to share this thing with the police for no reason. So how we can remove this barrier, please?
So I think education is the key thing for me. So like you say, I think some family people will think, actually, I think my son or daughter might be using drugs, or they might be doing something they're not happy about. But I think the problem is a lot of our community don't know where to get the advice or the support from, so they can make an informed decision. So I think that is the biggest thing. So where, do you ring the police, or where do you get the help from? Does everybody know? I don't think it's that obvious or that clear. But what I'd like to say is there are many organisations who speak lots of different languages, who can offer support around drug abuse, alcohol abuse, gangs, knife crime, all these sort of things. So you can talk to these people in confidence and in private. The only thing they will do is, obviously, if something is related to someone might die or something very serious, they would have to breach that confidentiality. But otherwise, there's lots of places you can get advice and support for these issues without criminalizing your children. So I think the important thing is to know where you can get that help. So local authorities can provide that. Again, there's other charities and groups which I can give you across London who can offer support around these sort of issues. But the real important thing is not to ignore it. Get some advice. Find out yourself what is available.
But people that don't know from where they will get this advice, especially people who is the immigrant people, that because they're new in this country. Even I had seen some people that spent number of years, but when something happened, they didn't know where to go from, who they get the service and the help. So how they get it that time?
So I think that is always a great area, I suppose, where there can always be improvement. So some of the services that the police provide, obviously, are tailored around police. Some of the services should be provided by local authority. Some of the services are provided by charities and that. And I think the thing for me is the truthful answer is some districts in London are better than others. And in terms of the police, so again, we go back to mobile phones, smart media. The Metropolitan Police has a website which you can actually go on to. On the website, you can type in what you're looking for, and it'll offer you some. So if you're talking about domestic abuse, it'll tell you how to report domestic abuse, where to get the help, where to get the support. Again, if you're a victim of any domestic abuse, we would encourage you to report it. If someone doesn't speak that language, when they ring the police, they can say their language, and we can get somebody from the language line to talk to them in their own language. So we've got a translation facility live at the time, so you're not waiting to talk about things. And again, most local authorities, but again, how do we get the message to the community that this is where you go for signposting? I'd be interested to know if you get any feedback, because if there's, because I deal with the whole of London, there's if some people are saying, actually, I live in East London, there's not a very good service, or I live in West London, there's not very good service. It'll be really useful for me to know, because then I can put some processes in place to try and improve those services for everybody.
Yes, and if they want to contact with the local police about this matter, they could do it.
So again, there's several ways of contacting the police. So you can do, if it's an emergency, always ring 999. Even if you speak in a different language, they will be able to get somebody to speak in your language. If it's not an emergency, then you ring 101. So 101 is a non-emergency line. Or the other thing is, most people are pretty good on social media now, so you can do it on social media. So on Twitter, they have a contact called @METCC. So you can pretty much contact them about anything to make an online report, and they'll do it online. Or even if you say, look, I need support or help with this, they'll give you that advice and will signpost you to the right person who can help you.
And the another issues we had seen, there's a number of abuse happen at the home, especially to the immigrant, might be, is a man or woman, and sometimes they feel bit worried and scared to share these things with the police due to their immigration issues and all these things. So how you can help them if they have any issues about these matters? So sometimes they think, if I go to the police, or police will gonna deport me, because I'm the immigrant, I'm not British. So this thing works because the people from the family, they always tell these things. So that's why it's gonna be stop them to come to you.
So this is the biggest thing. So again, I want to reassure people, really. So here in the UK, obviously we have a lot of people come here to stay, whether as a spouse, or someone coming to work on an employment visa or something. And sometimes, sadly, as we know, people take advantage of the opportunity. So they'll then start abusing them in terms of they won't pay them, or they'll make them do jobs that they wouldn't do themselves, which are quite menial. But what I'd say is, in relation, and they will threaten the person, say, look, if you can't go to the police, if you go to the police, they'll deport you. But what I want to do is reassure people that if somebody is a victim of sort of modern day slavery, which is where they're making you do all the housework, or they're making you do so many things, and they're not paying you the right money, or they're not giving you a proper place to live and stay, then we will investigate that. And what we'll do is we will treat you as a victim. You are the person who's come to us for help and support, and we will treat you as a victim, not as an overstayer, if that makes sense. So you are the victim. You've come to us to tell us about the problems you're facing. We will deal with that as the #1 priority. Obviously, in relation to your immigration status, that will be looked at. But even from a Home Office point of view, you've been subjected to some pretty nasty and horrific abuse by somebody, that would be the first and foremost, that we safeguard that person. Safeguarding is very important, that we look after people who are being ill abused or treated. So, I want people to know out there, if they are being obviously abused or not treated very well, or being threatened by this, the police anywhere in the UK won't have that stance. The police will always treat that person as a victim first, okay? And then we'll deal with how they've been treated first and foremost, and then look at safeguarding that person and how we're going to look after them moving forward. Because otherwise, we've seen some really horrible cases where people have died, or something very serious has happened because of the bad treatment of that person.
And this is very important, the message for our society, especially the immigrant, the people. And before that, you spoke about the social media. Nowadays, we have seen the loss of the crime happen through the social media, and especially you said the mobile. Everyone has the mobile, even the little kids. And what we have seen, sometimes they involve with the games and all these things. The other side, they don't know who is the other side. Might be he's 10 years old, the other side maybe he's 20 years old, and through that and other social media, they involve with the different type of crimes. So How do you protect them? Do you have any plan for that?
So again, there's in relation to young people, online safety. We've got an online safety guide. So again, we can provide that as to how to stay safe while you're online. So again, we can provide that to families or people around that. So education. And the other thing we have as well is so in the London area, we have a schools officer for every secondary school. So again, the people in secondary schools are quite vulnerable in terms of what they think, how they think. So what we do, we have police officers in every single secondary school to be there to offer help, support around bullying, around scams, around knife crime, around drugs, about mental health and well-being, all these sort of things. So that's a thing that we provide with local authority and obviously with the school's own safeguarding. So that is there, but equally we put a lot of stuff online ourselves just to tell young people of the dangers of staying away from, being groomed by these people or being scammed.
Thank you. So, what do you think about, because obviously, as a Muslim, you're serving in the Met Police, how our faith will going to help? We have number of faith organization around the London and in the England, and you've been all these places. I'm not saying about only the Muslim and the other faith as well. So, how they can help and they communicate with their community and work with the police?
So faith is very important to a lot of people, isn't it? So
Yeah.
what we find is, again, so at this moment in time, we're still in COVID-19. So we're in a pandemic. We've seen cases increase. Early on this year, we saw so many people have died, and with our faith community. So whether it doesn't matter which faith community you're from, a lot of people had difficulty when they were burying their family members and that, because it was very restrictive in how we would normally bury people. We have big gatherings, and our communities all like to get together, and do things big about these things, But it was so bad. People were going into hospital, dying on their own, and it's the worst time ever, really. So faith is very important, and I think the thing is, the faith community. We have Interfaith Week coming up in November, for instance, as well. So again, really important time that obviously the police and the faith community and all the people, if there's a greater understanding of faith and belief, again, most faiths have some really strong and intersectional beliefs in terms of you won't kill somebody, you won't steal from somebody, you won't do this, you won't do that. So these are very good values, and I think the thing is, the police and the faith community can work together. And equally, a lot of the time when people are in very big bad trouble, they go to their faith place, they go to the masjid, they go to the gurdwara, they go to their church to pray for forgiveness or ask for help. So again, it's really important that the police have got good links and communications with the faith sector, so that we can be there to offer that help as well when things are very difficult.
But do you think like all this mosque and the gurdwara or the church, they know how to support their community from your perspective? If
So,
any issues happened?
I think on the whole, I would say majority of the time, yes. So again, a lot of the mosques, gurdwaras, and churches have links in with charity. So again, during COVID-19, there's a lot of food banks. So a lot of people, even Muslims, really struggled earlier on this year.
Yeah.
And people who don't like to go to a food bank because they feel very shamed about that, but people have to go. So they offer a very good provision, and we've put a lot of input into the ones in London as to things to look out for, safeguarding. So we put many measures in since obviously COVID as well, even more so. So I would say yes, they do. So if you have got an issue, go and visit. You can get some advice from your local faith venue if you don't want to come to the police. And equally, the faith venues, every faith venue in London now has a faith officer attached to it. And again, I run those faith officers centrally to say, look, this is what's going on. This is how you should treat the community. So again, they can link in with that faith officer.
Thank you. And the another things for our young boys and girls, like who is between 15 to 20, if they want to involve with any service, police or the other things, how they can prepare themselves, what kind of things they need.
So I think
sometimes they don't know what to do. Sometimes they have some wrong information. I can't do because I don't have it. So what is the things mainly they need?
Yeah, so I think from a young age, so they can be a cadet actually. So we run something called the cadets. So cadets are for young people. So when they go from secondary school, so I think it's either 12 or 13 years onwards, they can apply to join. So a cadet sort of they become part of the police family. They do lots of different initiatives. They get a uniform. they get discipline, they get training, and it's a really great initiative to be in. Some people like to be in a Scouts, some people like to be in like the, like Army Cadets or something like that. So it's a similar thing that we offer around the police cadets. And again, it's a really good opportunity to get involved, find out what happens, and they learn skills. We teach them skills, we train them stuff, first aid, and all sorts of other life skills, which are really good for them. So they can get involved in that. And then thereafter, what happens is if people are looking at a career in policing, so again, I think sometimes, again, if I can explain a little bit about what we offer. So now the government have brought a new scheme in called the PCDA. So basically the Police Constable Degree Application Scheme. So normally most of our families say, oh, go to university, get a degree, okay? But not everybody wants to do that. But because of the cost implications as well. So to get a degree, you have to pay tuition fees, which can be £10,000 a year, isn't it, every year? So in terms of the government, they brought this new scheme in that they want police officers to have a degree, the new ones coming in. So as an organisation, we realised actually if we do that, we might limit those coming from Black and Asian minority groups. So the Metropolitan Police Service and the government have now decided actually that they will fund your degree. So if you've got A-level or A-level equivalents, okay, we will pay for your degree over the next 3 years. So we'll pay for your degree. So if you did it yourself, it'd be about £10,000 a year. So we're going to pay 10,000, 20,000, 30,000. So over 3 years of your degree, we'll pay for that degree. Okay. On top of that, we'll pay you a salary. So the salary will be £30,000 a year. So we're going to pay you £30,000 a year for the first year, another 30 for the second year, and another 30 for the third year. So that's £90,000 over 3 years. We're going to pay you in salary, and we're going to pay £30,000 of your fees. So we are going to invest £120,000 in you as a young person to get you a degree and to get you in the police service. I mean, I think that's a fantastic opportunity. And some people might say, well, hang on, there must be a catch here. There is no catch. If after the 3 years you've done your degree, we've paid you all your money, you say, you know what, I don't want to be a police officer. You know, there's no tie-in. You can say goodbye, you can walk out the door, you still would have got your degree, and you still would have got your £30,000 a year every year salary. So, I mean, what a fantastic option for people.
Yeah, this is really a fantastic initiative by the Met Police and the government to attract and to invite our young to involve with the Met Police, and I hope they will take this advantage. And another things, because nowadays due to this the electronic medias and all these things, we don't have much activities. Used to be everyone is to go out, play footballs and all these things. So how we can improve our social activities, not inside, the outside? Because I'm involved with different type of sports, runnings and all these things, and I found that our ethnic minority they're not involved much, especially our youth. So do you have any program from the Met Police to encourage the people to get out and involved with the positive things?
So yeah, so we're quite lucky actually in London, if I'm honest with you. So we have something called youth engagement teams and officers. So we run a whole host of different engagement events across London. So, you know, we have some boxing programs, we have some, well, we probably had to put a stop to those, but we have some football initiatives, all those sort of things. But again, how we do these is we've got officers in roles who carry out this function, and every region across London has a youth engagement officer. So again, if people don't know about it, then they can go to the local police station and say, look, I hear you've got a local youth engagement officer. Can you tell me when they meet, what initiatives they get involved in? So these youth engagement officers will then tell them, actually, these are the initiatives we're involved in. So I know a lot of them are very busy, but equally, you know, the whole thing is about getting young people involved, diverting them away from crime, and we give them an activity to do. So I think as well, so at this moment in time with COVID-19, you can still do an activity, you can go outside, get some air, but sometimes young people just need someone to give them that bit of drive and passion to go and to do it.
Yeah, exactly. So sometimes we need to encourage them, to push them, because they don't know much, and as a parents and the community, we have this responsibility. And obviously we are going through a tough time this year due to the COVID-19, and there's a lot of rules to implemented from the government to control and all these things. And we have seen, especially from the Asian the community, sometimes they don't know exactly what is the rules. Especially I have seen lots of the news about the weddings and all these things. They found many people is there, and they closed the restaurants and all these things. So what is your advice, because it has the COVID-19 effect more in our ethnic minority people?
Yes, I think the first thing to realize is that obviously we are, COVID-19 is an illness that there is no cure for. Okay, so if you're unfortunate to catch this, you might not make it alive. And I think for people from our heritage, so we are sort of South Asian community, we suffer with diabetes, high cholesterol, coronary heart disease, kidney failure, all these sort of issues. So because we suffer from these sort of things because of our genetics, we're more likely to not come out of the hospital. So
Yeah.
I think we have to be very, very careful as to what we do. And the other thing is, when young people go out, that when they come home, because again, we live in generally bigger households with extended families. They have the grandma, granddad, auntie, uncle, or lots more people in one house than maybe perhaps an English family would do. There's nothing wrong with that, but we need to be mindful when we're coming home that we are washing our hands, making sure we're keeping clean, making sure when we're going out we're wearing a mask to make sure we're complying with it. But not because of just of the government guidance, but also because we have a duty to look after our family. We have a duty to look after one another. How would somebody feel if they came home and they passed on the illness that maybe didn't affect them too badly to their granddad, or uncle or auntie, and that person was very poorly and passed away. So yeah, I think we need to be extra careful. This is the reason why, because it's impacted on the Black and Asian community more so than any other community. So that's the first thing. And the second thing around it really is there is no cure. So if you get it, it's going to be harder to recover. At the moment, as you've probably seen on the news, or most people have seen, the cases are going back up again. I think because winter is coming, normally it's a flu, people get coughs and colds. So again, we just need to make sure that we follow those rules and regulations. In terms of being outside, so the government have changed the rules. So before, the rules were fairly simple. Everyone had to be indoors. You could only do one bit of daily exercise. But now, because of obviously how the economy is as well, they've got regional lockdowns. So some parts of the country, people might see on the news saying, well, hang on, they're in lockdown. So they're in lockdown because they're trying to do it regional to minimize the disruption to the country and the economy. So, but in London, I know we have seen an increase in cases as well. So, there could be local regional lockdowns in places. So it could be in different boroughs that they put a lockdown in. But what I say is, please, the simple thing is, if you're outdoors, okay, you shouldn't be in a group. If it's from different households, more than 6 households, okay? So groups of 6 or more, if you are seen by the police, okay, the police will stop you. They will, engage with you to find out what you're doing. They will explain to you what the law and what the legislation is. They'll encourage you to go home, okay, because you shouldn't be out here for this reason, and then, they'll encourage you and talk to you, and they'll do it all in an empathetic way, okay? But if you don't listen, then they will give you a fine or even arrest you. So again, if you get a fine, it's a £100 fine. And the thing is, if you get caught time and time again being out, the fine is doubled. The government have changed these things. I'm talking about weddings and things. So if you arrange a big gathering, okay, you could get a fine of £10,000 for arranging a gathering, a big gathering, So you have to be very careful how you do it.
But some people, they said, oh, don't worry, police are not going to come, we'll do it.
The police have been doing it. They have been fining people, and the government are putting, more of a push to do more enforcement because they want to make sure the cases don't go up. So what I'd say is, it's not about the fining the people. For me, it's about, health and well-being first. We need to look after ourselves and our families, okay? So let's be selfish and protect our own people and our families and everybody else. And obviously, if someone's going to be silly enough, the government have made this is an emergency bit of law and legislation, okay? This law has been newly introduced and brought in quite quickly. And once this pandemic is finished and over, the government will finish this law, okay? So that's why this law has come in, because people might think, well, why have they done this, okay? Well, so when this is finished, the government will get rid of it. The parliament, they vote on it every 6 months to see if they want to keep this law in or not. But I think the thing is, the police will be fining people. We have been fining people, and that's the thing. So again, I think there's a protest not too long ago, a few weekends ago. We've issued a few £10,000 fines. So I mean, and they've all been all over the news and the media and everything else. So please don't be one of these people who've been fined, because you've only got yourself to blame. To get a fine, we have to speak to you, engage with you, talk to you, encourage you to go home. So it's not always see you, fine you like the traffic warden. We will spend some time with you explaining everything. And if you're still not going to listen, then we have no choice but to, enforce this.
So thank you very much. We are nearly going to end our program, but this time I want to know something different. Obviously, as a policeman, you are human like you and me. You are a family man. You are a lovely dad. I know. So we want to know something different. What do you do in your free time normally?
Well, I'd like to say I get much free time, but I think the thing is, so because of everything happening in the world, so again, something about me, I suppose. So because of everything happening in the world, my work-life balance has gone horribly wrong. So
we're really sorry for that.
no, it has, and my children. I've got, I have to say, I've got 3 young children, and again, it's, what I'm doing is very important at work, but equally, I need to remember I'm a parent. I'm a dad, and obviously, I've got responsibilities to my kids. So what I tend to do, so my kids, my girls, they love cooking. So I bake cakes. We make things like that. So we make little plans. I'm not a very good cook, if I'm honest with you, but I mean, I do my best. But they love baking things. So that's a bit of quality time that we have together, baking things and making things. And
you are not only a good police officer, you can be a good cook as well.
I don't know, good. I need probably more practice to be a good cook, but and I've got many friends who are very, very good chefs and brilliant. But for me, I find it quite relaxing, actually. So, measuring things out and then baking things and then doing it together as a family is quite nice and quite relaxing. So,
this is another message for our viewers. He's not only a police, he is a family man, and he's giving time to his family, to his kids. So we could do same thing. And the other things, what is your favorite sports?
My favorite sport, I think I've run out of sports at the moment. I don't seem to have any time for sports. So, I like football. So football is quite good. My son's a serious football fan, so he's always watching, football on the television, Manchester United, and all these sort of things. So,
and you, which team do you support?
I support Arsenal.
Oh, the best of luck. I'm not a football man. I'm the cricket man. So if you ask me anything the football, I don't know much.
No. So cricket I used to do when I was young, actually, but I sort of grew out of cricket. But I've got some very good friends, and again, across London, there was plans for lots of different cricket initiatives. We've got some work with some charity groups that do a lot of work around cricket. They want to hold these different clubs and things. So again, if your viewers or people want to know more, please send me an email. I'll give you some more details about these things. They want to put more pictures, cricket pictures across London, and they're looking to identify new areas where they could put them in. So
that's amazing. And what is your favorite food?
I love curry. I hate it. I love curry. I can't help it, But my mum's cooking is brilliant. So
there's no doubt. All mom's curry is out of all star, So bless all our parents.
When you grow up, you go through phases, don't you? I used to like pizza and this, but honestly, curry is the best, I think. So yeah.
That's true. So is our last the moment. So thank you very much for your time. I know you are very busy, and I'm really honored to spend some time with you. And I hope that our viewers they were going to be benefited from you, and hope you can watch later. If you don't have a time, you can watch later on the Facebook or the YouTube. So the last things we want to get some message from you for our society. Well,
okay. So I mean, there's one other thing I was going to say was first of all about one of my colleagues. So last Friday, you probably saw on the news a police officer. His name was Matt Ratana. He was sadly shot and killed in a police station in Croydon. So that for me is a tragedy as to how it happened and the circumstances. So again, these sort of things can happen to anybody. So we're all very upset about that, and we always remember things that happen to our colleagues. So that is a bit heavy on my heart at the moment, because again, he was close to retirement. But for me, the sort of things I want to share with you and the community is, please look after yourselves and your family. We are in a pandemic of COVID-19. There is no cure, okay? If you're feeling unwell, best to stay at home, don't go out. If you do go out, make sure you wear a face mask to protect yourself and the community. When you come home, wash your hands. Simple things. Wash your hands, you know, like they did beforehand, to make sure that you can do that. If you are outside, sometimes when you go outside, it looks like everything is normal. Just make sure that you can try and social distance from other people. Just keep that space and that distance and that safety, okay? And the other thing I was going to say is, please be patient with your young people, okay? So we're living through a very difficult time where people have had to be stuck together in a house for a long time. There's a lot of uncertainty around jobs and careers. So what I say is, please be patient with one another, be a bit more tolerant and understanding. But most importantly, I just want you to all look after yourselves and make sure we get this through together.
So thank you very much. Thanks again, Abdul Haq, for your time and for the message. And I hope all my viewers from all over the world, you will be benefited. And please look after yourself. This is because you are the person who can save yourself, who can save your family. And the parents, please be to your friend, to your kids. If anything happened, the first person is going to be you. They will come to you. And the family is a very important for anyone. If you have a good family, we can expect a good children, you know, who is going to be well educated, who has a good manners, and hopefully within the next few years, we're going to do something better, you know. We're going to try to reduce all these crimes and different type of the negative things. So thanks again. We will see you again. And also, thank you very much, the Sunrise Today, to give us this opportunity to share our views and to learn and to know more information. So hopefully, see you again. Please remember us in your prayer. Thank you.